Okay, it's a little after 6. Mariah, roll call?
Bob Wilkerson,
Here.
Jeff Perry,
Here.
Mike Hill,
Here.
Will Harris.
Here.
Brad Carlberg is not on yet, and Randy Lewis.
Here. Okay, next item is approval of changes to the agenda. Anybody have any revisions to the agenda?
I'm gonna make it. Go ahead. Well, I'm gonna, after reading this, this presentation from Mason County Climate Justice, I'm gonna make a motion that we remove that from tonight's agenda. And if you allow me a few minutes, I'll,
Okay, well, we're revising the agenda right now.
Okay.
So do you want to remove it or you want to table it?
Well, we can table it if we have time.
Okay.
You know, at the end or at another time.
I'd like to amend that we need the to come review the vision statement. As I recall in the instructions we got.
Okay,
The recommendation to add the vision statement is a discussion.
Yes,
so that would be item G.
I'm not sure where it's in the work session or,
It's part of the work that it is part of the work session.
okay,
3C. Or 3 triple bullet
All right, 3C.
is
This would be vision statement.
right.
I recommend we add, and do we have a timeline update to account plan available? Okay, good. So
As part of the
that's on,
staff presentation, okay?
and I would like to add a discussion on respectfulness.
So item 4.
Make it item G, item 4. I prefer it to be earlier than later.
Make it item G, respectfulness.
Mhm.
Okay, so
So you need a second.
He's
made a motion.
Commissioner Mike is moved to table the housing presentation discussion. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'm gonna say we probably can't.
Guys, we are the commissioners. We have reviewed the agenda and it's our responsibility.
I'm gonna say
for-
we have to make that motion when we get there because it's been noticed.
May I ask a question?
We are,
Before you.
we are amending the agenda, which means we add or delete items from the agenda.
You
So
can
if
vote.
you're going to table something on the agenda, it has to be done before.
It
we
has
approve the
been
agenda.
noticed that we are doing this as a special meeting. I
We are
know-
conducting this meeting under Robert's rules or pseudo rules.
Yes. We would still have to get there and then you could table it. If you so choose at that point.
When you say get there, what do you mean get there?
We have to get to the work
Get
session.
to the work session and then at the beginning, prior to the brief, have
What do the commissioners want to do? Do we want to wait till we get to work session item number 1? And then act on, or actually we'll have you redo the motion then.
Okay.
Okay,
So the motion out or the motion would be for these 2 or 3 amendments.
well, actually, we would amend the agenda for item G, respectfulness. And then item 3, vision statement.
Okay, I'll second that motion then.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion by the commissioners?
No.
Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. We have now approved the agenda. Does any commissioner have a conflict of interest?
Nope.
No,
Nope.
Okay, do we have Brad online?
No, we don't. Unless you just, no, we don't.
Next meeting will be the 27th. It's a little out of order due to a national holiday. So 27th is the 4th Monday. Do we have any committee or staff updates?
Okay, staff update. Staff going forward at this point in the meeting was, I or Kel are gonna be giving the line. Update for the meeting, for the night. Tonight's meeting, we have, in other business, Kel will be talking about, housing and county's capabilities to support affordable housing. After this, unless the PAC has any other business, which we talked about, we have public comment on topics associated with the mission of the PAC and which are not on the agenda for review. So that's public comment. People have 3 minutes for items not on the agenda. There on the schedule is a housing presentation by Mason County Climate Justice. There's no public comment or testimony to be taken on the presentation, but there's a Q&A session if there is time within the 30-minute allotment. Mason County Climate Justice was given a 30-minute time allotment for a presentation. We don't usually do that for groups, but because they got a grant from the Department of Commerce to do public outreach, we are making time for that presentation. Another organization, the EDC, also received a grant to do public outreach, and they will be allotted that time as well, 30 minutes for a presentation in the future if they choose to go forward with presenting to the group. So after that is the land use goals and policies and vision statement. The vision statement was already included in there. Doesn't say that on that agenda, but it's already included in there. I gave you the staff report, had that in here. So staff will give a summary on both the land use goals and policies and the vision statement. Then PAC, if you have any questions, the public, if you have any questions. Then it's public comment and testimony. We do have to take public comment and testimony because I'm asking the PAC for action. So anytime the PAC takes action, they have to take public comment. Then PAC can close the public comment and deliberate on all the information provided and the testimony provided. The goals that we need to meet today are making decisions on the vision statement revisions, including if any revisions need to be done to those subcategories, the urban growth, sprawl, and so forth. Then the land use policies, any changes to the draft need to be completed tonight, including making any decisions on the comments that were held over from the county-wide planning policy review. And that's that part. The other thing I wanted to talk about, staff updates, the housing needs assessment is being finalized by FCS. I've been in communication with them, as well as the Department of Commerce. I have submitted Commerce's questions to FCS to get clarification, and FCS is working on those clarifications with SCJ. The consultant, either FCS or SCJ, will be bringing forth policy recommendations for the housing element review. So once we get to the point where we bring the housing chapter forward, we'll be reviewing those policy recommendations as well as other testimony, where during that public testimony as well, people can reference back to Mason County Climate Justice's presentation as well.
Anything else?
Not for self updates, except we can go through, I'm gonna pull up the schedule, so that I have the schedule at this point.
Okay.
No, Brad.
November schedules draft. Right now we are on January 13th, so vision statement review as well as. So SCJ put this together, so it's vision statement and land use policy for January 13th. And then on January 27th, so into this month, we have the economic development element progress report, and we've looked at the introduction section of the comp plan before. I provided FCJ with our notes from the meeting that we initially looked at that chapter. So she's going to be providing an updated section on that for us. We need to decide, we had on the schedule about having a February 10th meeting, that's an additional, that would be a special meeting in addition to our regular February 24th. So I need to get confirmation from the PAC that they want to go forward with, or that we'll be able to do a February 10th, that will have enough members. We will have Parks and Recreation. That's going to be minimal because that's not in the scope of the work that we had SCJ review. That's the cross plan. So we'll be providing a small introduction section that refers to the cross plan.
Will the pros be revised? We're looking at purchasing potentially the south end of Mason Lake. That's a fairly big deal in Parks and Recreation. How is that going to be included in this?
I don't know, I'd have to talk to.
That would be something to talk to the
Coordinate
county
the-
administrator.
Mhm.
Then I would request that Mr. Whatever is appropriate to take that to Mr. Neary to get an answer, that'd be great. Let us know if we need to take action. I mean, hopefully I'm not over speaking here yet, gentlemen. And no one's saying no. Just let us know what the right step is, because
It's a,
Big step to capital facilities.
it's a
big.
change to the recently approved
Right.
fiscal 25 budget.
Well, but the commissioners of, the Board of Commissioners have allocated, I don't recall the exact number, $100,000 for a study to
Right.
better understand so they can make an informed decision. But should we go down that, I've heard numbers, from our legislature as low as 10 million, from one of our
It's still a
commissioners
big change
is 25 million.
to the approved budget.
No, absolutely. And that needs to be a consideration going forward.
That's what we elected them for.
So let's, if she wants a, I'm game for another meeting. in February. Sounds, I mean, it looks like to me, we're gonna need another meeting for February.
We're gonna have to be running
Yeah.
twice a month meetings, so the way things are going.
Right.
It may bump up to once a week for a while. Yeah.
Not till I get moved.
What are you talking about? You're gonna drive your RV, you just.
There's a story behind the story.
So,
Okay.
February 10th meeting, there would be also a review of the role and activity correspondent.
Yeah.
February 24th, housing. March 17th, capital facilities committee. And then April, we have transportation. Draft climate change and resiliency progress to date. And then possibly a second meeting in April. That's what SCJ is for. And that would be the review of the draft plan. And then we have May 19th. As a recommendation to the BOCC. And all this other information is still the same, end of June for draft, end of December for final.
The transportation element, will that go through tip cap prior to coming to the PAC?
It doesn't typically go through tip cap, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't, send the information over to tip cap, but we don't generally go over to tip cap meeting, is that what you mean, or?
Well,
Or just-
I guess I'm not understanding, because we had a joint PAC, but PAC was invited to Tip Cap here in November,
Yeah,
something like that.
well, back.
Yeah, and with the intent of saying, hey, Tip Cap, this is coming, we're looking for your input on it. And Tip Cap has not heard anything about what's going on. And, so I'm sort of assuming, since Tip Cap is aligning the transportation improvement program and that 6-year layout, it would be really helpful if we understood where the county was going, so then Tip Cap can align the tip and advise, the Board of Commissioners. through
Yeah, I'll coordinate with Loretta, because our, the consultant team is coordinating with Loretta on the transportation stuff, and there's consultants too for the transportation piece, but I'll just make sure it's all coordinated.
Yeah.
With Loretta.
Tip Cap met last week, and they expressed specific interest, and I was to carry it here.
Okay.
And then on the climate change, is April 21st the first opportunity for the PAC to see potentially what is coming out with regards to what we need to plan for?
Yes.
Would be nice if that came sooner.
Like 60 days sooner.
Well,
Somebody in a position for that.
they have to go through before they even get to a draft, so.
They being SEC.
That
SE
CPAC team.
Oh,
No, I guess I'll just express the concern. We have, over the last 9 months, we've discussed different potentials on climate change. We've discussed different tools, and one tool was suggested as a starting point. By no means was it the solution. No one said that, not trying to put that out there. But using that model, sea level rise in the greater Shelton area is somewhere around less than 1/2 foot to 5 feet, depending upon what parameters. And again, I'm not advocating for or against that model. I'm not saying those numbers are right or wrong. I'm just simply saying that planning for 6 inches is very different than planning for 60 inches. Trying to move Highway 3, for example, would be a little more challenging, trying to potentially move some ports and trying to incorporate from the 21st of April to the end of June, some of those potential considerations and coming up with the language that we want to walk to the Board of Commissioners and how to approach it. I think we would have a hard time in 60 days trying to do that. Again, depending upon what the result is, and the different climate models, it's heat, it's water, it's when water falls, when it doesn't, how much. There's a lot of considerations that could be very complicated depending upon what we're going to handle. And I don't know if 60 days is reasonable to be able to address that. So I've stated this opinion.
she needs to know, the staff needs to know whether we're gonna, haven't heard it confirmed one way or the other, needs to know whether we're gonna have 2 meetings in February, for sure. Are we game?
Yes.
Yeah, I might be traveling on the 10th, but
Yeah.
I don't know yet for sure.
Zoom in.
Leaving the country, yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like we're in the consensus that
Yeah.
we're gonna need a second meeting in February.
There's Brad.
Yeah.
Brad's on that.
Oh, Brad?
Yeah.
Okay, Brad, what do you think?
You're still muted, Brad.
Yeah. You know,
I'm muted. What was your question?
Do you agree with the rest of the commissioners that we should have a second meeting in February?
I think that's going to be required to
Okay.
get the work done. So sure.
All right.
And I apologize, the Zoom meeting link was not working for me.
Well, you're here now, Brad.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I guess the commissioners are in agreement. We really do need a second meeting. Please schedule. Is that going to present an issue to staff?
No, we wouldn't have brought it up.
That's what makes it.
We never know. Could be.
Okay.
So housing is a huge topic, so I just wanted to do some clarification for the benefit of not only our planning commission members, but also the public. Just kind of community development, county 101 on housing. So the county does not directly build or provide housing. And our primary role with the comprehensive plan is to set policies that then drive the development regulations or zoning of what we allow regarding housing. And so even though we all know, every one of us feels the housing crisis either directly or family members, friends, etc. So we all are aware, I think on a national scale, although not everywhere. And so certainly Mason County is experiencing a housing shortage. And that includes apartments. I mean, I'm just homing, a home shortage. And so I want to make sure that everyone understands that the county is not out building. We're not doing that, but that doesn't mean that the county doesn't have its own funds. We get state and federal funds that get passed on to us. For example, ARPA, American Rescue Plan, I don't remember the whole thing, but we got federal funds that came through the state and then to us, and then our county commissioners were able to distribute those funds to a variety of groups, some of which are nonprofits that deal with housing issues at some level or another. And so if the planning commission and folks want to drive the policy level of making sure that we are, looking at housing as priorities, that, those are policies can be set, development regulations can be drafted to ensure, and I think we've done this at a staff level long before we've got to this comp plan update, is making sure that our zoning, the zoning in which allows housing, allows all kinds of different types of housing, not just single family residential. So we allow multifamily apartments, modular homes, stick-built homes, tiny homes. Even in Mason County, we even allow park model RVs, which isn't allowed by the state. Don't tell LNI, they know, but they don't enforce. So we allow those homes for permanent residents that we're not otherwise allowed to do. We also don't enforce on people living in substandard housing, which is not allowed by the state, but we don't enforce on things, and I'm not going to go into details there, just in case anybody hears from the state. So, and we are not the only county experiencing this crisis. I'm on the regional planning directors group statewide, and it's really bad out there everywhere. So I just want to make sure folks are, with that in mind, that they're thinking of policies and confirming that our regulations are not prohibiting, that we're not just full of single family residential everywhere and no apartments
Right.
can't be, can't go anywhere. That's not the case. We do encourage that. We unfortunately don't have the ability to force developers to develop, but we want to make sure that we remove as many barriers as possible and try to understand the development community more on how their investments and lenders, and I work to try to understand that all the time so I could comprehend, like, why isn't anything getting built? And it's super difficult. I don't know how to solve the problem, but I think that's all I'm going to say. Although I don't want the audience to ask questions because we could be here all night, I think just on that. But if you guys have any specific questions you have for me, I just wanted to say that kind of generally and see if that
Perfect sense.
clarified some things.
First, thank you.
Yeah.
Great clarification. Let me just be clear. What I heard is that within our existing policies, we largely, maybe we can tweak it and provide a little more flexibility, but given a parcel of land in general, it can be single family, multifamily, tiny, stick built, modular, all sort, we're not focused on single family stick built, but we allow a very wide flexibility out there.
A wide flexibility within the urban growth areas.
Okay.
So we are required by state law to keep the rural areas rural. Remember the rural? Rural. And so essentially in the rural areas outside of Shelton urban growth, city of Shelton and its urban growth area, which is in county jurisdiction, but has city-like zoning around it. And then Allen and Belfair, those are our 3 urban growth areas where we allow a variety of housing types and multifamily, high density housing. Because that's where sewer, water, and those services are provided. In the rural areas, it's essentially 1 unit per per parcel. We say 5 acres because that's if you can't divide anything further than the 5 acre minimums anymore. But there are lots and lots of parcels out in our rural areas that are much smaller than that, especially around the waterfront. And we only allow single family residential. But we are, and we have been against state law, we have allowed accessory dwelling units since the county started planning under growth management. Lots of counties got sued because that was increasing your density. We did not get that, so we've always maintained allowing accessory dwelling units, 1 accessory dwelling unit on a parcel along with that single family residential in the rural area, but they're sharing wells and septic, and that's a whole different issue. But so the rural areas is pretty much there's
More
there's no
restrictive,
opportunity
yeah.
for multifamily, but in the 3 urban growth areas, that's where we allow, not everywhere, but and enough places that we have adequate land to support all of our existing and future growth.
Right.
So-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So outside the urban growth areas, the rule is for a 5 acre tract, you can only have 1 single family unit.
Right, plus an accessory dwelling unit. And that's limited in size. So like where I live.
So theoretically, 2 families in the 5.
Yep.
Okay, but you can't build you can't build an apartment building on the 5 acre lot.
That is correct.
Okay,
For
Unless
RVs
you have a
that
rental
are
car.
being used as homes, are they required to be hooked up to proper sewage treatment?
We
either
do not
sewer or-
enforce people living full-time in RVs, but the enforcement folks, so we have code enforcement and planning. We're getting someone in building and environmental health, and we will enforce on solid and sanitary waste issues and things like that, but I don't want to get into a big RV discussion.
Thanks. Thank you.
so, sorry,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, we're talking about removing barriers for developers. Can we also encourage incentives? So they're incented to come in and build affordable housing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's
we
a good-
used the multifamily tax incentive, that didn't work, they do the math and it doesn't work for them, so we also have no influence over developers and how how the money works.
well, I've talked to developers,
Some-
especially in Shelton,
It-
that they gotta put in several tens of thousands of dollars just for the government fees and all that, and that's a big, doesn't pencil out,
Is
so
it the county or?
seems like
the
that
city?
some role government could have that.
Yep, there's permit fees. We do not have exorbitant permit fees compared to our like counties. We're pretty mid road. I think we have decent permit fees. We do not have impact fees, so that's relatively unusual these days. And so that really decreases permit costs. And a big barrier to development is infrastructure. So I'm a huge advocate of the local governments supplying water, sewer infrastructure to allow developers not to have to burden that cost, but also, they also should pay their fair share as well. So it's just kind of, there's a lot to it.
Got it. Thanks.
Hey, Brad, you got any questions?
Nope.
All right. So on the agenda, Mr. Will.
Mr. Will. All right, I'm just gonna stand and read. So in recent months, we've heard statements by PAC members and by the public that were disparaging, offensive, and even hostile. At the November 18th, 2024 meeting, a member of the public very appropriately read the first paragraph of the PAC bylaws to remind us the need to respect each other and to be open to new ideas. At the following PAC meeting on December 16th, 2024, a member of the public stated that PAC members were unable to understand the homeless situation because they are white, male, and housed. This is totally unacceptable behavior and is disparaging, offensive, and discriminatory. I have individually talked to multiple, but not all PAC members, and they agree. Going forward, we, that is the PAC, the public, and staff, have a difficult and challenging topics that need to be addressed in the comprehensive plan. It is unlikely that we will agree on the language or the solutions to all topics. However, if we can't control our personal actions and statements, our ability to perform as a citizen panel and public members will be severely strained. I request that we work harder to be mindful that we are ultimately one team, PAC members, citizens, and staff, helping to guide our county forward. Being respectful of each other in our statements is a starting point.
Thank you, Will. Well said. Okay, we will go to public comment. And I remind everybody, you got 3 minutes. Come on up. Make sure you say who you are.
Hello, my name is Jacob Ackerman, and I would just like to say that we have completed the affordable housing survey, and it is ready to release. We are working with the county, the host program, and the Climate Commitment Act. And if you want to take the survey, there's flyers on the back table right there.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Julianne Gale. I'm with Mason County Climate Justice, and I would just like everyone to raise your hand if you came here today in part or wholly because you wanted to see the affordable housing presentation. And I would just like to note for the record that almost every hand in the room is raised. I have heard the PAC members say that you're disappointed that it's the same faces who show up every day and that you want to see more public participation. You have an opportunity for public participation right now. You have a whole group of people who have come to this PAC meeting for the very first time. And I ask that you honor people's time that they've taken away from their families or from work. And make this a welcoming space where community members want to share their thinking, where they feel safe to say what's important to them, and where we work together to find solutions to the problems we all share. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're gonna vote on that, right?
We will discuss it at least.
My name is
Okay.
Alan Ramirez, and I just want to say that it would really be very hurtful if the PAC were to decide to not allow the youth of this county to speak their minds on a topic that is going to affect us the most.
this, this whole, the whole document that the PAC is deciding on is going to influence the whole county for the next 20 years. The plan is renewed every 10 years, but it impacts for 20. And it would really, I can see a lot of young faces here. This is going to be affecting us for the next 20 years of our lives. So I'd really appreciate it if you were to just hear us out on what we have to say, our personal experiences with living here. Because I can tell you right now, I know a lot of us here and a lot of us that were not able to make it here are very passionate about living here in Mason County because we have grown up here our entire lives and we love this place. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kirsty Rose. I would just like to say that many of us have been advocating for the PAC to take greater interest in public opinion and commentary and to respond with proper decorum and respect. I also agree that we all need to respect each other. It is my hope that members will remember that we are your neighbors. You might see us on your coffee run. You might see us on your daily drive. We're part of your community. And the future of the county takes the community to succeed, and every opinion matters. So it would be of great benefit for everyone here to appreciate things that we have to come to the table with our opinions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Suptroth, and I'm a former full-time teacher in the North Mason School District. I'm now a substitute teacher in North Mason School District and at Great View, both in Mason County. I have had students who have not had any quality housing where there is no electricity or running water in their homes, and they're expected to come to school ready to learn, which makes it very hard for them to do that. Talking to a teacher today, she has a student who lives in a very small trailer. And as we know, it was freezing last night. It's not adequately heated. This is a hard place to come to school from when you haven't had a good night's sleep because your home or where you're living is not adequate. So Mason County needs more affordable housing. For 2 years, I also volunteered at a warming shelter in Belfair where people came in because it was below freezing. Otherwise, they live out in the woods because there's nowhere else for them. I'm so glad that we have the Veterans Village, and it's a great model of affordable housing. And we should pursue models that will work economically as well as providing a supportive community where people can live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I am Reese Edmund Marsden. I really want to do this presentation with the entirety of Cosmic because I myself have been a child in Shelton who has struggled with homelessness. For 2 years on the dot, I have been in and out of places, been out of motels and houses, and it's hard. There is really no help. There was really no help for me, and I got lucky to be in a place now. And if we skip over this entire presentation, we are skipping over not just my voice, not just everybody in the room's voice, but many people who don't have the power right now to speak up, to speak about this issue. For this presentation to happen, we're making change for the next, again, 20 years of everybody's life in Shelton. That's over 1,000, almost over 10,000, right? You know? We're working to better it. Not if we don't do this presentation, we might just make it worse, which is not what we want. Thank you.
Thank you, Reese.
Anyone else down here? Okay. Okay, online, does anyone wish to speak to the commission? Sure. Hearing none, we will continue.
Mr. Chairman, just, I guess, There's over 40 of us here now. Is that an issue from a fire marshal perspective?
He's not here yet.
Okay, just one, just checking, just asking a safety question. Yeah. Got it. Been a fire marshal, but I still want to ask.
No one's gonna tell them. Oh, actually, this is it. We're in the city. So.
Well, this is all being recorded too, keep in mind.
Tell them what? All right.
So, exit door there, there's an exit door there, and then exit out the two main doors there. And,
Thank you, Cal.
bathrooms are kitty corner over that way. And do not panic if something happens, be orderly to exit two places, please.
Second coverage.
I
Thank
feel
you,
safe.
Phil.
I feel safe for now.
Moving on, we're going to item 3, work session. Work. Mike, you had a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion that we shelve this or table it and allow me a few minutes, so I'll read my.
Oh, you made the motion, we'll have a discussion.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's been moved, we have a second.
I'll say that for sake of discussion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. The motion is to table the Mason County Climate Justice presentation. Okay. Discussion amongst the commissioners.
I'm wondering what's the motivation? Is it like take too much time out of our night or what? What's the
Well, I think a
motivation?
lot of the issues that I read through the presentation are already addressed. The ones that aren't are market driven and economic driven, which are out of our scope. And like Kel explained it pretty well.
I mean, it seems like the fair thing to do if we were gonna do that. Don't wait until the meeting to bring it up after all these people have shown up.
But how,
How would we know though?
but how do we do that without having a meeting?
It-
See, in other words, we can't, individually, we can't decide that. As the
Well-
commission.
Personally, in my world, all information is good. I'd like to hear what they have to say. That's my
But we have
opinion.
time. That's good.
That's why I ask, is it a time thing?
Yeah.
Well,
If it's
according to the agenda,
I mean, we're having extra
We have-
meetings over the next.
we
3 or
have
4
30
months.
minutes now. Did you count how many slides that was?
40.
They are
40?
aware they
40
have
slides?
30 minutes, they will do their best.
So,
to-
yeah. I guess my comments are a couple fold. One, thank you everyone for being here tonight. Truly, thank you for being here tonight. When I first saw this, I was like, my first response to seeing this was, oh, a 30-minute public comment. Are we now opening then all public comment to 30-minute sections and to all groups? And this, as it was, again, well, I just opened up the standard packet of information from Mariah, came very timely about a week ago. I'm like, what is this? It's never been discussed before. Now there's this 30-minute increment, and that's what we had. And through a series of emails, maybe a couple of phone calls of individuals talking at this table or on the screen there, and including staff members, again, email and or phone calls. We got a little more information that this is a topic of, high interest. But there are other topics of high interest, such as, no cutting of long-term forests, climate justice, or climate change, environmental justice. So I guess my question is as we look at a very busy calendar, I commented we may need weekly meetings, and that's where my mind was going, is how many other highly interested topics are out there that Mason County Climate Justice or other entities, if this is truly a public comment, is this open to? Now, staff has explained that this is really targeting 2 groups, the Economic Development Commission and Mason County Climate Justice, that have grants to help and support the development of the commission. So I guess my question to staff is, then these types of discussions would be limited to those 2 groups only.
Yes, we've made an exception. It's not a normal thing to do. So because of the commerce grants, and there are 2, it's not something we thought about, but because we were asked, we said, well, we can do that to the 2 commerce grant recipients.
Okay.
And we thought that would be a fair thing to do, that wouldn't just open up, any.
Yeah, no, I-
Come in and,
Yeah.
commandeer.
You see where I was headed? Yeah, it was like, holy moly. Yeah.
The Commerce grant was specifically given to the two groups to do public outreach for the purpose of, participating in the comprehensive plan update.
And my other question is to you, Julian Gale, is how many other like topics would you anticipate coming back to us with? Is this the only one or are there others?
It's a question for us, and
Okay, I'm sorry. My apologies.
So they're having their one presentation, the EDC. I talked with Kevin Schutte, the director, and gave him the opportunity. He may or may not come to the group, but we are giving them each one
Okay.
opportunity.
So if you grant this, make an exception for this, you make an exception for one, you make an exception for all. Facetiously, that means that the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Sasquatches, which has a very important issue,
So the
will come
Department
to you.
of Commerce gave out 2 grants for the Mason County Comprehensive Plan update. That grant has been closed. So there are no other groups that are going to receive a grant for the county's comprehensive plan update, which means we only have 2 groups in the entire county that are given the opportunity to give a 30-minute presentation to the planning commission,
And again, if we make an exception for one, you make an exception for all.
which I did. So,
So anybody can make a request.
2 people can make the request, the EDC and the Climate Justice Group.
Yeah.
That's it.
Kel, you make an exception for one, you make an exception for all.
Thanks,
Isn't that
Bob.
how it works?
You're not understanding me. Does anyone else on the PAC understand what I'm saying? That
You've
do I-
defined,
do
you've
I need-
defined a specific cohort that you're making an exception for. Anyone that falls within that cohort, yeah, we would have to allow to come in. But as you said, there's only 2 people within that cohort. If someone else comes in and says, well, how come I can't make a presentation?
Did you?
You do not-
And I would ask them, did you
you-
receive a Department of Commerce?
Exactly.
grant to do our comp planning?
So the rule now
They say yes,
is,
I say you're lying because I know the Department of Commerce has only given out 2 grants.
so the rule is if it's blessed by the Department of Commerce, you can do it? Is that what we're hearing, Kel?
I'm not even gonna. respond to you.
If that's the way you want it, Kel, fine. We will make an exception for the Department of Commerce. Is that what you're saying?
That
You
is
know,
what I'm saying. I am the staff person.
But who controls the
You're
agenda?
embarrassing. You don't even know what you're doing.
You are being dilatory.
Yeah, I'll leave them. It's really sad that you guys don't wanna.
Leave,
take
please.
that. Bye-bye.
I
Thank
would like
you.
to invite the council to come. to
You're
the
invited to
council
leave.
And make a presentation. Thank you very much.
Kel?
Yes.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't totally accept it personally, because it seems like to me that at least in your elements that are in this comp plan, the different facets, i.e. transportation, i.e. parks, and facilities that need to make presentations should be allowed to make presentations.
Right, from either staff or, say, the Department of Transportation. We're talking about outside groups
Okay,
that
Well-
are just,
remembering this whole plan is really for the people. And it's not for, it's not really for staff in the county, it's really for the people of the county.
we're here.
Yeah, I know, I hear, I hear.
So if the
I think-
community came back next meeting and did this same presentation in 3-minute individual processes, would that be allowed?
This is a discussion for the PAC members, if I may, please. And, Mike, I'm like, I've gone through the slides. I do not have benefit of the author's intent. I've looked at the slides. I don't have the benefit of others' input on it. I do recognize the slides from, some of the personal research I've done from Department of Commerce and other state websites. So it's not virgin material that is new. It's been pulled together from other agencies. It is fairly well sourced throughout it. So if you want to go find the source, it's there. But like you, Mike, I really struggle with the fiscal part of it. I'm at this point somewhat inclined to listen, but we'll have some very, direct comments of how do we overcome some of the fiscal boundaries of
Right.
this,
Yeah.
particularly given some of the decisions that are coming out of Olympia with regards to climate impact and reduction of greenhouse gases that are increasing home prices $50,000 to $100,000 by 25%. And we're supposed to do affordable housing. Olympia is working against us. But again, maybe those reasons are more important than affordable housing. It's not, don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, Brad, what do you think?
Well, the person asked the question about give the presentation in 3-minute increments by 10 different people is one way around it, but this is setting. I just want to reiterate what you said, Mr. Chairman, that you make an exception for one, you make an exception for all. If you only make the exception for 2 people, then you are being very unfair to the other groups that would like to speak. It's immaterial whether they had a grant or not. This is public comment. So, I mean, you now have the PowerPoint on record. So we could continue, we could have just 3-minute Q&A to discuss it. Did the climate justice group bring handouts for the audience to give them all? And during the questions, you could perhaps use 3, but it'd be a very dangerous precedent. We can't make an exception for 2 we have to make an exception for all.
Well, I think Cal has very, Brad, I think Cal has appropriately bound it. Is it maybe a little gray? Not going to argue that, but the bounding condition is only groups that have received a grant from the Department of Commerce get this opportunity. And there are only 2 groups, Mason County Climate Justice and the Economic Development Committee or Council of Mason County. It's only those 2. And at this point, it's been described as one and only one presentation on whatever the appropriate topic or topics are, bounded in a 30 minutes. So some of my initial fear of, oh my, it's overwhelming is bounded as long as we can hold that condition.
Let me say this, does it make sense to go ahead with the presentation and then perhaps at the next meeting, go through the 5, when I reviewed the presentation, there was 5 elements to it. And again, I've identified none of them that either aren't already addressed in the SCJ consulting work or that are outside of our scope. And maybe we can look, see the presentation and at the next session, maybe after the presentation, go through those and decide which ones are relevant, which ones aren't.
Let me ask how many organizations applied for a grant from Commerce? Only 2 were awarded. How many were applied for?
2.
It still is unfair to the other public groups. I would like to have Washington Public Policy provide a presentation and show a different idea, or CO2, a group nonprofit in Virginia called CO2 Coalition.
I just the second item in here, for example, identify and undo racial disparities, look for racially disparate impacts and displacement in it as a result or relates to exclusion in housing.
I'm sorry, but you don't have the floor. Mike has the floor right now.
I'm trying to figure out.
Guys are wasting? That's what they do. This is ridiculous.
Well, that was what I was wondering, we're spending.
Time out. Mike has the floor. When Mike is done, you can speak. Okay? This is the way you have to conduct these meetings when we have multiple people. We are respectful. Mike was not done speaking. When he is done speaking, then you can.
Yeah, I was just simply pointing out an example in the element number 2 that I don't understand how that relates to anything we're doing here at the PAC.
Maybe you could hear from the presentation.
I've read through the presentation. I don't see it. You know, that's not in our scope to identify disparities. But if it is, then we show it. Yeah.
If I'm,
Okay, no, Mike, are you done?
I'm done, yeah.
Now it's your turn.
So it is almost 7 o'clock and you have spent all this time debating whether this applies or not. You could just have listened to the presentation. No comment or testimony, and then once we get to the housing element, you can choose to implement anything they said or not. All you are doing is listening to them. You are not taking action on anything they are saying tonight. You have the choice not to implement anything that they are commenting on in the presentation or providing as policy recommendation. But part of public comment is listening to the public. They got a grant to reach out to a wide group of people. Commerce is wanting that. It doesn't mean you as a group have to say yes, yes, yes to all these points, or all those points are something that the PAC actually can do anything about. Maybe it's the BOCC, maybe it's the state. But you guys keep talking about how little time we have, but you're sitting here wasting it.
If I could make a comment.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I mean, if we let them do the presentation, they're probably done by now. But, you know, may think it's unfair for another group to come in and be denied. Maybe you feel that's unethical. I don't agree with that, but Kel has a solid basis for denying such a thing. And she's specifically defined it, but again, in my world, I want all the information I can get. I personally don't like when people are muzzled. I'd like to hear it.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so are you withdrawing your motion?
Yeah, I'm withdrawing my motion.
Okay. Is the commission agree to withdrawing the motion from the table?
He's the one,
I know that once the motion is put on the table, it belongs to the commission.
I agree.
Okay, Brad?
yes.
What was your question? Okay, yeah.
Mike has withdrawn his motion. Do you concur?
No, I don't think we had a second. We had a motion and a second. We
Right.
should simply vote for it.
Okay, well, let's go to the vote then. All those in favor?
You can call the question.
You're calling the question. Okay, all those in favor of tabling the Mason County Climate Justice presentation, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, sorry, Mike. All right, let's hear the presentation. It's now 7 o'clock.
It's fine.
My name is Julianne Gale. I'm with Mason County Climate Justice. And I just want to share that this base presentation was made by a student at Cedar High School. And the idea of focusing on affordable housing as one of our key priorities in the comp plan was also the idea of a different student at Cedar High School, neither of which could be here today. And to start to frame why we're talking about this, There are updated requirements for the comprehensive plan housing element that were not there when we did it last in 2016. These come from House Bill 1220 and have been codified into the RCWs. I have summarized the 5 updated requirements from the Department of Commerce presentation. Number 1, it's required in our comp plan to document housing needs at every income level. And this chart right here shows all the different income levels that we need to document. We also need to identify and undo racial disparities. And to your point, Mike, this is a legal requirement from HB 1220 and has been codified into law by the RCWs. We also need to provide for existing and projected needs, including actions to address barriers to housing availability at all income levels. There's also 2 more pieces that are required, but this presentation doesn't focus on them because we only have 30 minutes. So number 1, we're working on documenting housing needs. So this chart comes from the Department of Commerce in 2022, from 2022 data, and it shows our progress indicators on making sure we have housing for everybody. And you can see that at every single indicator, we have actually gotten worse since the last comp plan in 2015. And unfortunately, the 2 indicators that we thought were improving, it's not actually true. The percentage of households experiencing housing cost burden, meaning households that spend more than 30% of their income on housing, actually got significantly worse in 2023, which is the data after this was created. And the total annual total housing unit production dropped after 2021. So we're also losing ground here.
Do you want us to hold questions to the
Yes,
end?
please.
Thank you.
Unless you want to extend our time.
Nope.
All right. So this is based on the Office of Financial Management's medium projections. You may all have chosen slightly different numbers, but this is the rough idea. All the purple is all the new housing we're required to have by 2044 to meet the projected growth in our county. PSH stands for permanent supportive housing. That's for very low income people who need extra supports like social services, addiction recovery, mental health services, etc. We need about 1,000 units of that. The Vet Village is one example of permanent supportive housing that we already have. We also, for very extremely low income people, we need to pretty much double the extremely low income housing we have for people who just don't have a lot of money. They don't have addictions, they don't have mental health problems, they don't need social services, they just need affordable housing. I'll let you read this on your own, but these are how the numbers were calculated to come up with those numbers. And in addition, what wasn't on the graph is emergency housing, because even if we house everybody, some people are still gonna have to flee domestic violence, there's gonna be a family emergency, stuff comes up. I think we all have felt this pain. The median home price in Mason County has more than doubled in 2016. As a personal example, I bought my house in 2020, completely on my own income and own credit score, but I was married and in an abusive relationship. So in 2024, I had to sell it. My home had appreciated more than $100,000. And yet, even though I sold the home, I cannot afford to buy a house of that price because of interest rates right now. And you might wonder, how do we compare to our neighboring counties? We are exactly on trend with all of our neighboring counties. Housing costs are rising everywhere. And that may not seem like a big deal, because what if our incomes are rising just as much as the housing prices? That is unfortunately not true. The Housing Affordability Index has tanked in the last period of time. The solid line is for the median buyers, a family that makes median income. And the dotted line is for a first-time home buyer, which is calculated at 70%. And once again, we're completely on trend with surrounding counties and even all of Washington state. And you might think, okay, so that's the problem with people who are trying to buy a house. But what about the people who already have houses? How are they doing? So this shows Mason County numbers between 2022 and 2023. More than 1 in 3 Mason County households with a mortgage are cost burdened. So on the PAC, there's 6 members. If you were representative of all the homeowners with mortgages in our county, that means 2 of you would be spending more than 30% of your income on housing. And the dark orange represents severely cost burdened, meaning spending more than 50% of your income on housing. And so that's approximately 1 of you on the PAC if the PAC, all the positions were filled. So what about all the people who don't have a mortgage? They paid off their houses. Unfortunately, we have a big percentage of our community who is cost burdened and severely cost burdened, even though they have paid off their mortgage. And that's because housing costs include insurance, utilities, property taxes, and the cost of fuel. In 2023, more than 1 in 5 Mason County households that own their own home outright spend more than 30% of their income on housing. And approximately 1 in 8 are spending more than half their income on housing. And between 2022 and 2023, that percentage of severely cost burdened homeowners without a mortgage tripled. It's even worse for renters in Mason County. Nearly half of all renter households are cost burdened. More than 1/4 of all renter households are spending more than 50% of their income on housing. And we are actually more cost burdened than surrounding counties. It's very obvious in the owned homes with a mortgage and the owned homes without a mortgage. It's a little less obvious on the rental data, but if you look at the severely cost burdened portion, you can see that we have more renter households that are spending more than half their income on housing than any of the surrounding counties or Washington State as a whole. So one of the issues, before I move on, actually, I'm going to bring up Reese to come and tell us a little story, a personal example, because I think it's important that we remember these aren't just numbers. These are people. These are our neighbors, our students, our grandparents, people we care about.
So, like I said prior, I was homeless for 2 years. That is because of the horrible costs of living. I rented a house, which, you know, we could have lived in it, but the price of it just was horrible. We spent, again, it wasn't 30, it was 75% of our income basically to rent this place. And then when I was homeless, living in a motel, it was 100% of our income. You know, it was $2,240 a month for a motel. That's how much it was to live there. That is not a sustainable place to live. That is I'm like that's two paychecks a month gone. By the way.
Thank you, Reese.
Thanks, Reese.
So unfortunately, you know how we had the housing affordability index for homeowners? I can't show you something, I can't responsibly show you that data for rentals because the data that was created for rentals only includes complexes of 20 or more units, which is mostly not what our rentals are in Mason County. You can see from the chart that more than half of our single family homes, half of our rentals are single family homes. And so we have a policy issue where statewide and national rental data doesn't reflect the details in Mason County. Most statewide and national rental cost data is based on housing complexes with 5 to 20 or more units. And you can see that that data captures just 13% of all rentals in Mason County. 64% of all Mason County rentals with 5+ units are low income. And that means that our combined median rental costs are artificially low. And the fair market rent for 2024, which is what's used to calculate housing vouchers for our low income folks, is calculated using 2022 data, but median rent increased 11% in 22 and 8% in 2023. And so that means that our housing vouchers, even people who get support, it's not enough support to stay housed. So I'm just going to call up Nina, if you want to give us a little story.
No, that's hard. Dinner.
Oh, okay. Hello, I'm Nina V. Brown. My story is that when I moved here 5 years ago, my rent was only $1,500, and it's gone up about $100 every year since then, accumulating to $2,000 now a month, which is a lot of most of what we're spending. It's
And that's the same house.
Yeah, and it's the same house. I've lived here at the same house and it's gone up.
So what do we do about having limited data? These are proposals for solutions because we all feel overwhelmed by the problem. So we're trying to overwhelm ourselves with solutions too. So policy solution number one, we can collect meaningful local rental data. And this is something that Mason County Climate Justice, the host program, Cedar Stewards of Mason County, and many other organizations are collaborating on to conduct an affordable housing survey so we can actually get some of the data that's missing. That's just one example. We can also, number two, incorporate local rental data into policy. And number three, this comes from the 2022 Mason County Housing Needs Assessment. We can appeal the HUD income limits to make sure that the vouchers that we're giving people are sufficient to actually survive in our community. More details on the slide on your own time. Number two, we need to identify and undo racial disparities in housing. BIPOC, which is an acronym for Black, Indigenous, People of Color households, are more likely to be renters. BIPOC households are also more likely to be cost burdened. There's almost an 18 percentage point gap between white households and BIPOC households when it comes to cost burdening in housing. Now, this data is a little old, but unfortunately, I don't think that it has gotten any better since this data was created. And if it's very important to you all, we can pull the exact more current numbers. I'm going to invite Alan up to talk about racial disparities in housing.
So yeah, so a little bit of a life story here. Promise it won't take too long, but the first home I ever lived in was basically just here in the middle of Shelton. And it was a terrible home. It was moldy. But we ended up having to leave the house because the owner lost it due to a gambling addiction. It had absolutely nothing to do with us, even though it was a terrible home. It was full of mold, insects, plumbing was failing all the time. Sometimes we didn't even have running water. The floor broke a few times. And we also had an incident where some people in the middle of the night came to not just our house, but also some of our neighbors and spray painted racial slurs on our doors, vandalizing it. And so after we end up not being able to live there anymore because the house was lost because of the owner, it was very difficult to find anywhere to rent at all, let alone anywhere that was affordable. And this was back, I want to say, about 1 year before the pandemic began, around 2020. We ended up having to move somewhere that was a lot more removed from Shelton, so transportation was a lot more of an issue now. And we ended up getting evicted out of there without reason. They simply said, we legally have to tell you you have 80 days to leave, and that's all they told us. And now we've been able to find housing, but it's still not very affordable. Like as Nina said, our rent is also about $2,000 a month. And that's not even including any of the bills that we have to pay. So it's very difficult to make ends meet in Mason County right now, even somewhere like Shelton.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
So what do we do about racial disparities in housing? So one solution is we can, because BIPOC households are more likely to be cost burdened and more likely to be renters. One solution is that if we prioritize policies that support low income renters, we'll be ending racial disparities in Mason County. So what does that look like in practice? That can look like seeking out public funding opportunities for affordable housing development and maintenance. That could be trying something like, can we get a law passed that supports the right of first refusal to go to affordable housing when a house goes under foreclosure? Can we prioritize affordable housing that has longer lengths of affordability? The multifamily tax exemption credit has varying lengths of affordability before it gets converted to market rate. We can prioritize longer lengths of affordability. We can incentivize affordable and multifamily housing, such as expedited permitting processes, multifamily units paying lower impact and hookup fees. So maybe a single family home pays 100% of the permit fees, and a duplex, instead of paying 2 times 100%, pays 2 times 80%, for example. These are things that exist in other comp plans. We can also legalize living in RVs and tiny homes on axles. Port Townsend is one example that allows, it codes tiny homes on wheels as ADUs, and it has a provision for that, and so they allow it. Policy solution 2, we can make opportunities accessible to BIPOC. We can make sure that programs and public outreach are available in multiple languages. We can partner with organizations that have good relationships with BIPOC communities to ensure BIPOC participation. For example, we are going to be partnering with Cielo to make sure that that community gets to participate in the Affordable Housing Survey. We can also diversify leadership positions and support BIPOC who get into leadership positions or are already in leadership positions. And we can shift the culture of racism. For example, we could have cultural competence trainings for non-BIPOC leaders. Policy solution 3, we need to track progress on ending racial disparities. It's not sufficient to come back in 10 years when we update the comp plan and say, well, did we end racial disparities? No, we got to track it over time. So use tools that already exist, US Census data, EJ Screen, the Washington Environmental Health Disparities Map. We already have data to track racial disparities. We can set a regular progress review schedule. And we can adjust policies regularly to make sure that we're ending racial disparities. Number 3, we are required to provide for existing and projected housing needs. So how are we doing at providing housing needs? This is based on permits, this is the annual building activity in Mason County for single-family homes. And this is how much building activity there is for multifamily units. And I would like to point out that the tall number, the 136 in 2021, is all those units in Belfair by the McDonald's that are most, as far as I know, market rate and pretty vacant because people can't afford to live there. So, policy problem, not enough multifamily housing being built. We've heard over and over from developers, it doesn't pencil. The obvious solution is government investment in multifamily housing. And there's precedent in our old comp plan, in the countywide planning policies, it said, consider direct participation in housing by government jurisdictions. We could do that again, we could bring it back. And I want to point out that Mason County this is one where we're not on trend with our neighboring counties. We're actually way, way behind. We have less than half of the subsidized units per 1,000 residents compared to our surrounding counties. So the bad news is we do not have enough affordable housing. Solution, we need to invest in affordable housing. We are not a rich county. How do we do that? Policy solution 2, we seek funding for affordable housing. What I can say when I talked to the Department of Commerce, showed them the slides, got their input on the data, got their input on the policies, is they said the Washington Housing Trust and other funding sources care very much about equity across Washington state. We apply for affordable housing funding and we show data like this, we run to the top of the list because we are not matching our surrounding counties. We have a lot of opportunities if we use the data that exists. Here's just one list of all the affordable housing funding opportunities that existed in Washington, never mind federal. And I want to bring up this quote from the Mason County Workforce Housing Summit report in 2019. Affordable housing is not exclusively a social service issue and should be looked at as a driver for economic growth. Affordable housing can both retain as well as attract employees. Up to 80% of job growth comes from existing businesses, and they need more employees who can live near where they work. I worked in HR for a business in Lillywath, and we needed employees and we struggled to get them, especially the managerial positions, because we didn't have housing for them. But if that's not enough reason, here's some more benefits to affordable housing. One, it actually lowers crime rates. It has been proven that affordable housing decreases crime rates in distressed areas, and it has zero impact in high-income areas. It boosts the local economy. It saves taxpayer money, so we're not spending so much on emergency services and social services and police. And it actually can create an operating surplus for local government. It reduces rent cost burden and is actually, given rent control preemption laws in Washington state, it's the only legal way for a local jurisdiction like a county or a city to enact rent control. And finally, it increases property value. Affordable housing is proven to increase property values in distressed neighborhoods. We don't have time to go into all the details. Please read all of those links. I really encourage you. And this comes from the National Association of Home Builders. They conducted a study and said in an average area, constructing 100 multifamily units increases local government revenue. Yes, it's expensive, but so is the windfall that comes from it. The details, there's a bunch of slides at the end of this presentation that I won't have time to get to. You can read them on your own time, but one of them includes the numbers behind this. So what are the consequences of not having enough housing? As availability goes down, prices go up. Basic market economics. And vacancy rates are inversely related to home price increases. So here in blue, we have home vacancy rates, home vacancy rate, and then we have percent annual change in home values in orange, and you can see that they're inversely related. That's also true with rental costs. So why do we need rent stability? Rising rent is the strongest predictor of homelessness, according to the Mason County Workforce Housing Summit report. Increasing rent has been the main driver in homelessness, 2023 Mason County Health Report. And for every $100 increase in rent, that's associated with a 32% increase in homelessness in non-metro areas. That was true in 2012. The exact numbers might be different now, but the general principle remains the same. So how do we get to rent stability? According to the Joint Center for Housing Studies at Harvard University, the ideal rental vacancy rate is 7.6%. And so that's that blue dotted line at the top. And my ideal percent annual change in rent is the 0% annual change, and that's the orange dots. And that's because just like homeowners don't have an increase in their mortgages, neither should renters have increases in their rent. So it turns out that theory matches reality. The closer that our rental vacancy rate was to the ideal rate, the closer we were to rent stability. And as soon as we fell away, we had much less vacancy, much less availability, we had a much higher rate of change in annual rent. So the policy problem, we have low availability of housing. How we solve this depends on the root causes. So one cause is that short-term rentals are taking up what would otherwise be long-term rentals. The solution is short-term rental regulations and permit fees. You all are already working on that. I hope you will take it up and pass it when it comes around back in whenever you're done with the comp plan. Number two, the low stock of affordable and subsidized housing available and very few new multifamily units being developed. So solutions are seeking out funding, confirming that our zoning and codes allow multifamily housing and adjust if necessary, explore incentives, seek out permanent affordability or at least the longest timeline possible before converting to market rate, and community land trusts where a group owns the land and individuals own their individual houses. The Evergreen Mobile Homeowners Cooperative is one example here in Mason County, and there are others as well. And then another cause is that our seasonal and vacation homes are 19 to 25% of Mason County housing depending on how you calculate it. We have more seasonal homes in Mason County than we have rental units total. In fact, we have more seasonal homes in Mason County than all the housing we're required to create by 2044. So what do we do about that? Honestly, I think that we need to disincentivize second homes unless they are long-term rentals. I'm hoping there's a zoning or code way to enforce that, but I'm suspecting what it would probably take is a constitutional amendment to the state constitution. And so it would be possible to put in a policy or a request to the Board of County Commissioners to make a request to our state legislators to make this happen. The simple version of this policy is everybody gets one house before anybody gets two. Finally, another policy problem is the environmental health risks in housing. We already heard about mold, there's lead paint, low air quality, extreme temperatures. If you don't have good insulation, you're really vulnerable to extreme cold and extreme heat. We also have outdoor examples of septic system failure, flooding, landslides, erosion, pollution, contamination. So I'm going to bring up Ash to give an example.
My timer says 4 minutes. Okay.
My name is Asher. About 6 years ago, I was living in an apartment and it was very infested with mold. We lost a lot of personal items, and within the 3 years that we lived there, my mom contracted pneumonia twice, and it caused other health problems that proceeded to build up until we moved out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Asher.
So given that we don't have a ton of time, policy solution 1, promote education and take advantage of existing abatement programs and weatherization and retrofit programs. 2, clean up pollution before building. Number 3, consider climate change in planning development. Review sites for climate impacts before issuing permits. Incentivize development in appropriate areas. Disincentivize clear-cut logging to prevent landslides, erosion, and windfall. Incentivize regenerative agriculture and food growing in housing developments. Allow compost toilets and gray water systems to conserve resources and lower the price of development. A septic system is $15,000 to $20,000 to put in. A compost toilet is a heck of a lot cheaper, but we need codes that say this is an approved compost toilet. And then once again, the idea of first refusal of foreclosures to affordable housing. This is a summary of all the recommended policies that we just went over, and it's cross-referenced with the Department of Commerce housing checklist, which you have to turn in to say that you've met all the requirements. So you can see where in the checklist these ideas are related to. So we have a couple minutes for Q&A. And then I just want to point out, if someone at the back could hold up the affordable housing survey flyer, please take as many as you like, pass them out to folks, put them up. Let's get as many community voices as possible so that when we're tackling such a contentious issue, we have the support of the community behind us. Sorry, I forgot. 2 more youth to come up and speak. Jacob and Israel, I really apologize.
2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Jacob, and I'd just like to say, I can't imagine moving out of my parents' house for a few years now because it's just so expensive. Like, either I'm gonna have to stay with them for like a few years until I work things out, or just leave and go somewhere else.
Thank you, Jacob.
I have lived in Shelton my entire life. I'm 16. I've lived in the same house, and I have personally never had issues with my housing or affordability or anything. But I do have a few friends that I've known my entire life that live down the road from me that have holes in their ceilings and holes in their flooring and everything, and they can't afford to fix it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, we enact the majority of these policies or some of these policies, or better yet, all of these policies, we can prevent more stories like this. We can make sure that no other young person in Mason County has to deal with housing barriers like the ones they've already survived.
Leave your slides for a minute. I'd like to do question and answer. And I
So
really-
does the commission, since we're coming up on 30 minutes,
Yeah.
you wish to continue?
I would like to continue, and if it goes for another 30 because of our questions and their answers, so be it. That's my proposal.
What does the rest of the commission say?
I'm good with it.
I agree with Will.
Hey, Brad?
Well, perhaps we'll table the second workshop. On the, we probably have to table the workshop to the next meeting.
So it's overtime.
You what?
Nothing. So it's the consensus is continue with the Q&A.
I think if we limit it maybe
So long as we can table the second workshop to the next meeting, so we don't have to have too long of a meeting tonight.
With the second workshop tonight.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're supposed to talk about land
Well,
use elements.
actually,
and
there's two
don't
more. There's
forget
vision
about,
statement and land
vision-
use. So
The vision statement.
you go to slide 4.
Please unshare the screen.
Yeah.
Or actually, we could leave the screen
Yeah.
up, so.
Yeah, we're gonna leave the screen up. Slide 4. How does Washington State compare to this? Are we representative of the state, or are they worse off or better off than we are?
I would have to get back to you on that, but if you go to the link that's on there, it gives you a folder with every other county and how.
Slide 5. The growth in these different areas, is that commensurate with what we approved 2-3 months ago in our housing projections? Those growth and purple.
I didn't create this from scratch. I pulled it directly from the latest Department of Commerce Housing Division report.
Yeah.
So it's probably not exactly what you all approved, but it's not incredibly different.
And that's what I wanted to hear, is that we are basically aligned with what this is projecting.
Yeah.
We mean, okay, so we don't have 995 in the middle tall bar, we have 900 or 1,000. I really don't care.
We have
We're close and we're
7,031
guiding
total.
to the right spot.
Yeah.
He's recording me. Are you recording me? You're recording. Okay, good. But if someone's gonna record us, please let us know, because we're being recorded by the public here. In fact, I don't know if recording is allowed in here or not, but I'll keep going. All right,
Might be something with state
slide
law about that.
9.
If I can say something real quick.
Say that again, Phil?
We're in a public building and it's allowed, so folks come into our office and film us all the time, and I'm a public employee and I'm happy to be filmed. In fact, if you give me a microphone, I won't stop talking.
Okay. I understand that problem. So anyway, so
I'm sorry if I can,
He's got the.
just for a second. I was just gonna say in my line of work,
Will
there's a
was
saying,
talking.
don't be a slave to the decimal point. If it's
no,
close.
what I wanted to know is what is being considered as a need here, what we're already
Right,
recommending, and I'm
right.
hearing yes, and I
Yes.
consider that a big win for all. Slide 9. Okay, slide 9, we see a huge loss in affordability index. How much is that attributed directly to? Because if you go from 2020 to 2024, and you see this downhill slide, interest rates from 3.5% to 7%. How much is attributed to the massive influx and printing of money done by our current administration?
So the housing affordability index comes from it comes from the Washington Center for Real Estate Research at UW. I am in direct contact with the person who is their data person. We can ask whatever questions you want, but you can see the slide starts here all the way in 2015.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues there. Okay, slide
Those are
11.
economic issues.
Yeah, well, and that's it, is that, 11 is a great one where you see again this huge uptick, and it's hard, it's harder today than it was 4 years ago. And I've talked to a lot of people, and my wife and I have personally experienced it, where a loaf of bread costs more, a gallon of gas costs more. And those prices, even if, pretending I own my home, I have no mortgage, all of that's stable, these other increases are going up faster than my income is growing up.
If you having.
Yeah, well, whatever my income.
This doesn't even take into account the price of food or anything else. It only takes into account the cost of housing.
Well, right, but
I'm agreeing, I think we all agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Well,
things are getting less
my
important.
point
yes.
though is there are things outside of our control here, and I think that's a huge challenge in this. Is, you know, I mean, I'll ask the question, okay, so we have some laws coming out of Olympia that are going to increase the price of building a home, same home square footage wise, but it's more environmentally conscious, is more greenhouse gas, non-producing, et cetera. But it's going to cost an extra $50,000 to $100,000. So if we could do one thing, we either keep the housing prices where they're at and not implement those greenhouse gas non-producing initiatives, or we decrease the increase of greenhouse gas, but increase housing. What's more important?
I think that's a false binary.
So
Thank you.
that's reality right there on the ground.
We gave a whole bunch of policy recommendations that don't involve increasing greenhouse gas emissions as a solution. Do you want to add something?
I just wanted to say that you provided all these solutions and various avenues to correct the issue, particular issue in this presentation.
And if
All right,
we
then
allow climate change to run unchecked, we are going to have worse and worse housing issues. All the homes in Union that flooded in the King Tides, that's going to be normal.
I'm done with my comments.
Okay, does any other commissioner have any comments or questions?
Questions only.
What's it say?
Questions only, it's only a Q&A.
Yeah, is there a representative from SCJ here tonight?
No.
So has this presentation been presented to them?
I was told not to communicate directly with SCJ Alliance. I ran it by the staff ahead of time, and I ran it by multiple people in commerce ahead of time as well.
Okay. Because as I understand our role here as advisors, we're advising on the growth management plan that SCJ is presenting to us. That was my problem for the beginning of this meeting is looking at this stuff is not part of that plan, or is it?
So part of SCJ Alliance's job and part of their contract is public participation. We, as Mason County Climate Justice, as Cedar Stewards of Mason County, we are supporting your consultant in meeting public participation. You had a survey that SCJ Alliance did, and only 125 people filled it out. We launched the Affordable Housing Survey, soft launched it a few days ago. We already have 79 completed surveys. I'm sure we will get you more public input, which is something that is both legally required by the RTWs and something that PAC members and the public have said they're interested in seeing.
Should you be able to connect with SCJ in order to do that, though?
I would be thrilled to, and I don't want to cost the county
Right,
more money.
my recommendation would be for you to get with them.
No. That's
Okay.
not the, no. So
Okay.
public comment comes to county staff. County staff has to keep a record of that. You should be concentrating on the policy recommendations that they're making, not necessarily their housing needs data. We have a consultant that was contracted in the beginning with that. They are contracted to do that. Okay, so you should be concentrating on the policy recommendations that this group is making, okay?
Again,
And when the housing element comes back, there's an opportunity for the PAC to look at and reflect back on the information that was shared tonight and say, are there some opportunities to supplement the housing element with some policy level decisions?
again, all information is good from whatever source. And I think this is amazing. She's provided a lot of granular data, which I think is very sorely needed. I've been wondering about, and I haven't seen anything like that from SCJ, at least not so far. So
What I will say is I pulled some newer data than SCJ Alliance and FCS Group pulled because some of their data was older. And so I went directly to the American Community Survey census data and pulled the absolute newest I could.
you have you're saying you're having trouble getting a particular class of rentals. Do you have like a methodology or a plan to get that information?
So I'm thinking that we need to do some of our own local data collection. I have also heard that there is a statewide nonprofit that's wanting to collect more of that data. We can also express that interest to the groups like CoStar, like the Washington Center for Real Estate Research and so forth to say, if you want to support rural counties like ours, you need to collect rental data differently because we're different than Seattle, we're different than Tacoma, we have different needs. And we should be making policy decisions based on what's happening here, not what's going on elsewhere. And again, we will have the data from the survey that we do. We hope you'll invite us back to present the results of that survey so that you can put that into you can consider that. If we have to, we will come up with 100 people to each give a 3-minute comment, but I think it's nicer when you get a coherent presentation. So it's your choice though.
Hey, Brad, you got any questions?
I was trying to look and see which slide, the best thing that you guys said in your presentation was education is the key. But did you mean education of the current problem? Because, which I think you probably did. Or do you mean education of you youngsters that want to remain to live in the county?
So I did rush this part because I was trying to fit in the 30 minutes. But there needs to be public health education and education about what programs exist to help people out. There are programs that already exist with our PUD to help with weatherization. There's programs that already exist with self-sound appliance to get more energy efficient appliances. There's programs with the Washington Department of Commerce for lead abatement. But I didn't know about any of those things until I started creating a presentation and talked directly to the Department of Commerce. And so we have lots of people in need in our community who don't even know. Some people may not know mold is a problem, and other people may know it's a problem, but not know that there's any support for that. So if you fix your broken windows, if you weatherize your house, you'll be better when it comes to mold, or it'll be better. You'll be more protected against extreme temperatures, or more protected against wildfire smoke from climate change, for example.
So my question to you is, had you thought of education to create a better career, to earn more money to keep up with to adding to your income, you know, perhaps, you know, learn a trade that can pay more, or get a college degree, you know, not
So Brad, I was valedictorian at the University of Southern California, where I got a bachelor's of science in computer science. I have a master's degree in applied theater arts, and I have a master's of arts in teaching. I have taught at the college level. I have earned high income. I choose to do the work that I do at the income that I do because my community matters to me. Mason County matters to me. I make above the median income. I'm okay, but I want all my neighbors okay.
Well, no, I was concerned. You said you had to sell your house. Was that you that said that? So, but you know, I take umbrage with the one thing you said though was, and many of my neighbors would take umbrage to the statement that nobody can own a second home until everybody has a single home, because that's the antithesis of the American dream. We save our money to buy a second home. And so that you'll get if you poll the public here in Mason County, that they will I'm sure that as I polled my neighbors, they will vehemently agree and or disagree with you on the second home. So that anyway, you know, but you youngsters that spoke that want to stay in the area, you know, you've got to earn more.
They're in high school.
Right, yeah, keep the question answered.
So, okay, yeah, I'm done.
And when I say policy, I'm saying we could have a constitutional amendment to the state constitution that just taxes second homes as the luxury that they are, use that money to put into our schools, to put into our social services, to put into affordable housing. So if you make plenty of money, go ahead, get your second home, but contribute back to society so other people can benefit too.
I had another quick question.
All right.
You would separate it out, and I've heard like Dan Griffey and the other legislators, there's homelessness, but then there's affordable housing. But you would separate out yourself. Homelessness is more of a mental health and addiction problem.
No, that's not what
That's
I
not a
said.
true statement?
No.
Well,
You got to hear from people who were homeless that weren't suffering from addiction or mental health issues. I have been living in my car, and the reason I lived in my car is because there was mold in my house because there was a leak in the roof and the landlords didn't fix it for a year, and then there was mold, and the safest thing for me to do was live in my car.
well, I would put them in the affordable housing category. But my
Well,
question is,
from a definition standpoint,
Yeah.
from a HUD homeless means anybody who doesn't have permanent housing. So if you're couch surfing, if you're living in a tent, if you're living in substandard housing, if you don't have a permanent address, or if you're street homeless, those are all different kinds of homelessness. I know there's people who work in housing here. I don't know if you want to add anything.
well, I want to ask a question. However you define it, yeah, there's some people that just don't earn enough to afford housing here. I'm assuming that's included in your data, but people that are homeless because they have addiction issues or mental illness, are those people included in your data?
Yes, so I
Okay.
think what you were referring to, what I maybe said too quickly, is this section right here. This is extremely low income people who make 0 to 30% of the area median income. And they're divided into two different groups because there's different needs. This group right here is the people who don't need extra supports, they just need housing they can afford. And this column right here is for permanent supportive housing, and those are folks who need mental health supports or they need addiction recovery support. And we need both types of housing in our community, and we're actually required to provide both types of housing.
That's why this is so great, because I've wondered for a while, those two groups, can we separate them out and quantify what's going on? Which is what you're doing. Yeah.
And then how those numbers came to be, it took the way they said this is what we need for housing, they took everybody who's currently homeless and said we need to make sure that there's housing for everyone currently homeless. Then it said, okay, how much housing do we need to add to make sure that nobody is cost burdened by housing? No one is spending more than 30% of their income on housing. Then we expect that Mason County is going to grow a little bit, so we have to add housing for that. And when you add all those together, that's how they decided what the net new units needed by income level were. So it's not just a bunch of people moving into the county that we need to house. It's all the people that already are here that need affordable housing.
Okay, have all the commissioners had their questions answered? Have they asked all their questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the commissioners are done talking or asking questions.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, we will now move on to the land use element. Staff.
Vision statement and land use. So we're going to start with this. Share my screen because these slides about the community vision survey report.
So, early last year in May, the consultant put out a community vision survey, to the public. and then provided the survey report in September. That's the one we talked about where we got 125 survey responses. Unfortunately, that's not totally untypical of a comp plan. I was involved in the comp plan update before this, and unfortunately, we don't get a lot of community coming to meetings and commenting and writing. We did get some, but 125 is not completely untypical. So 125 survey responses, and the reason I'm bringing this up again is because we are working on a vision statement tonight. One of our PAC members worked on a draft, a couple different drafts of the vision statement. We had a public comment with a revision of the statement as well. And another PAC member provided his today, which we'll pull up on the screen here in a minute. But I just wanted to remind you of the survey because even though it's 125, it's still important. That's the community taking their time out to give us feedback about the county they want to live in. So just a reminder of some of that information, over 95% of the survey respondents live in Mason County. You can also access this survey report on the county website project page. In a few words, what makes Mason County great today? Some of the common themes were that it's rural, a small community, abundance of natural beauty, access to outdoor recreation, affordability of living in Mason County. So, for people who live in this county. So
Interesting.
What do you think would make Mason County even better 20 years from now? Revitalization of downtown and business opportunities, improvement of transportation infrastructure, both bikes and cars, increased, but yet then we say increased affordable housing. What do you think of Mason County's top 5 priorities should be in the next 20 years? So a safe community, preservation and reinforcement of Mason County's Northwest woodland character, more parks and recreation opportunities, revitalizing, redeveloping underused and vacant sites, and more affordable housing. What specific challenges, if any, have you encountered regarding housing in Mason County? Affordability, availability of suitable housing types such as single-family homes and apartments, homelessness, and accessibility for people with disabilities. What do you consider to be the top priorities for housing in Mason County? Encouraging mixed-use development, support development of affordable housing, support expansion and preservation of single-family neighborhoods, and support flexible development standards and relax zoning regulations. Which types of housing does Mason County need the most? It was noted that a single family residential, mixed use, apartment and condominiums, cottage housing, ADUs, and apartments of 5 units or more. Feasible strategies for improving housing availability and affordability in Mason County. Encouraging a wider variety of housing types, including missing middle housing, using inclusionary zoning requirements to build new housing in mixed-use commercial and multifamily residential zones. Provide density bonuses and incentives, specifically for affordable units, and provide options to further encourage development of accessory dwelling units. And then on our climate planning and resilience, which was our new element for this plan, how concerned are you about potential impacts of climate change in Mason County? Over 46% of respondents were very concerned about potential impacts. And over 22% of respondents are somewhat concerned, and 15% were neutral, 16% were not concerned. Do you believe Mason County is adequately prepared to address and adapt to climate change? So almost 45% thought Mason County is not adequately prepared, and that they need to take more action. And 35% of respondents thought Mason County is somewhat prepared, but there's still room for improvement. And lastly, 20% of respondents thought Mason County is well prepared to address and adapt. And I think that's the last, no, that's not last. In your opinion, what are the most critical climate-related risks facing Mason County? Extreme weather events such as floods and large storms, drought, water scarcity, and heat waves and urban heat island effects and sea level rise. What actions do you believe Mason County should take to mitigate those effects of climate change and increase resilience? It talks about forest management. So just fire management and brush clearing, reduction of clear cutting, and increasing the focus of critical area protection and preservation. Another area was educating the public on the challenges of climate change, and what can be done to mitigate and adapt to those changes, and also how the community can get involved in climate resilience. And then one more action that was commonly mentioned was consciousness of future development, conscious future development. And then many respondents stated that they weren't sure what we should do. Assets existing in Mason County that should be protected. Some that were mentioned were forests and trees, water, agricultural land, roads, bridges, and wildlife habitat. And so those were some of the answers to that survey, and I just wanted to bring that up because we are working on that vision statement and making decisions. And since this was brought back a while ago, I just wanted to remind people that when they're making their decisions. The rest of that survey just has some demographics included on it. We can have to go over and you can access that on the website. So, goal tonight for the vision statement, choose main statement under the vision. So, you all received the vision statement that is as it is currently worded. So that top part, the main statement, and then it has subcategories such as the urban growth areas, rural areas, housing and environment and open space. The PAC had one of the members work on this main vision statement. We've had several comments and then you need to decide if we do revise the statement, if any of the subcategories need any revision, are we rewording in any way? The PAC, in that packet, the different options for vision statements were provided. And then we had a public comment from Peggy Morrell as well with her vision statements, revisions. And then we also have Will Harris will be the revisions as well. And I'll go to the PAC one if they have any questions or before we move on to public comment.
Doesn't look like, go ahead, Jeff.
So you sent us material like what Mike worked on, what staff worked on, and then what was Will's and Patty's?
We can go ahead and bring up one.
What I did was I took AI 6.0 that Mike provided and provides, Mike provided 4 or 5 different. I just simply took it from my perspective and added some considerations to think about. And I, like you see the word small town communities is struck, and I replaced it with population centers. Given that we have one city or incorporated, I felt that population centers might be more inclusive and not necessarily to disaggregate the urban areas, but include Union and Hoodsport and Matlock. I like the foster safety. I feel like we could have community cohesiveness, deep connection to the land. I thought didn't, I don't hear that from people, and maybe that's just me, but I do feel like there is opportunity to succeed economically. And therefore, this creates an atmosphere for our families, entrepreneurs, and business leaders. We are committed to overseeing, and I struggled very hard with the word preserving, or replace it with managing or overseeing or some other word. I've heard lots of words from community members, and in this room, the word preserving means not harvesting. And I do believe that we very much, as part of the management or overseeing or growth of our forests, our waterways, our ecosystems, overseeing is probably more appropriate. I do believe that we are going to have some, foresting going on. I understand there are differing opinions on that. Again, I left the rest of it, timber, aquaculture, agricultural there. And last year, I just said, we seek to try and balance the growth, the stewardship, the cultural aspect, agricultural aspect, while attracting new and diverse businesses. I don't specifically call out climate change, thinking that that is incorporated broadly in the virus stewardship. And from a vision statement, I would leave it at just that. No subsections, nothing. High level, very inclusive, trying to select individual words. And I'm not saying those are the perfect ones, but trying to be sensitive to the needs across the board. And, there are areas, particularly like, climate change is a very sensitive topic, and maybe, literally those words were in there and I then struck them and I went back and forth. So that's how I came up with that.
Okay. And then there's Patty's or another one. Around.
Yeah.
Put it up.
Patty
See what,
submitted hers a while
Peggy
ago.
has to say.
Or Peggy might.
Peggy, I'm sorry.
Getting the next one.
That's it.
I was going for a
And it
short.
would have been
I was going for a shorter one. It's just a vision.
Is Peggy speaking? The
No.
volume is not, there's no volume on the.
It's read only.
Everybody's reading.
Okay.
Should have been said to you without a
It was.
beat.
Yes, thank you.
It was.
No, Mariah provided it. Yep.
So attachment A is the current, right?
Yeah.
Which goes away after. If that's what we decide, I get it.
We could vocally day one.
Exactly.
Okay.
These are the ones that I could share.
Could you copy this? Peggy, into the chat? So that will be.
You've been provided this, Brad.
Check your email, Brad.
Check the window, what?
Brad,
It was emailed to you, Brad.
I didn't see it.
go to what, yeah, go to what Mariah sent you and you'll see something that reads attachment C as in Charlie, public comment vision statement. It's a PDF.
Oh, that one, yeah.
That is what Miss Morale had, wrote. And there's also, you'll see an attachment A and B. A is the original as stated right now.
Yeah.
B says Mike Hell Vision's statement versions, and there's multiple in there.
That appendix C was sent out late this afternoon.
Nope, it was sent out about a week ago from Mariah.
It's also attached to the meeting notice.
Yep.
It's like 11 megabytes total in files.
A PDF. Yeah, we had too many revisions being sent out because, yeah.
So can you put up Mike's thing, please?
Brad, do you have your email open?
I do.
Great. I just sent all three to you.
But
Mike, you want to go over some of yours? I mean, yeah,
I didn't.
I just sort of. Yeah, they're fine. I'm okay.
You don't want to
I'm just thinking.
Mine's marked up, so-
Brad,
My memory's not good enough.
Got it, buddy.
Just summarize. You know.
You see, 1.0 is the original. And then there's rest of them or,
Versions.
some are
Versions,
completely,
yeah.
New versions, some are somewhat similar versions.
Mhm.
And this was this put out for people to like weigh in on or
At least the commissioner.
It was sent, some people weighed in, some of us opted not to because it was multiple and therefore meeting and format, and we trying to respect that condition, not to
Yeah, no one should have waited.
bingo.
Okay.
I agree.
From our group, but I mean, from the public, was there any input from the public on any of them?
I haven't heard of any.
I'm not evil, I'm just clueless.
Public comments for it.
Yeah, I liked your 6.0 as a starting point.
Yeah, and I like
my favorite, if you will, as a base, and then I some of my edits.
Yeah, that's the one that you
That's
modified
right.
yourself,
Okay,
right?
all right.
Is that the one you had up there a minute ago? Will, that was
Yes.
modified a little bit?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that one or something short and sweet, like, 4 or is that 4? One sort of.
And that's how I feel. I think
4.0, yeah.
my experience is shorter is better.
Right.
Because if it gets too wordy, it gets.
It gets wonky.
It can grow very quickly if you start to add sub elements, but
Well-
something that also is inclusive and talks to what the tough, big challenges in front of us.
I agree with Will on that. Yeah. Vision statement in my brain. What do you want? What do you want to do? What do you want? The details are how do you go about to do it? And
Well, typically the vision statement is shortened to the point. The mission statement starts filling in the blanks.
that's why, yeah, I'm agreeing. And I would have voted for number 4. I also like,
I was kind of number 4 also with some
I mean, I like Will's, I'd be okay with that, but even that,
This one's Will's.
I mean, there's too much specific in it, I don't know, but I'm okay with it. No, it was
This is a team effort and there's no.
No, I get it.
I take no criticism if you disagree. No.
So are we making a motion to approve one of these?
Well, we haven't heard from Jeff yet.
Jeff, you like 4, but you modified it a little bit?
I was 4 modified, but in the end, we're kind of all getting to the same point.
Right.
So
We kind of sort of like a version 4.
in other words, I had some kind of specifically oriented to focus it on, like, for example, we just, in number 4, we had the fostering sustainable economic growth. Well, I kind of specify a little bit more, say, a digital service oriented and natural resource focused growth. Because but again, this.
Well, to me, that's too specific. If you say economic growth, that covers everything, but that's just me.
That would be
But do we want, all types of economic growth?
Well, right now, we don't know what the future economic growth.
If they're high
path
paying,
is.
I don't know what's
jobs
gonna.
we do.
Yeah.
My opinion is yes, is if we limit ourselves to natural resources, forestry,
No,
agriculture, and
you-
aquaculture.
No, but you focused on the last and not the former.
I mean,
That was in the digital service oriented, that's where, the industries are going.
Well, I think we should even be broader. I think, as Brad pointed out, if I'm an HVAC technician or electrician and you pick a lot of others, you're into 6 figures as a job.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when
I
I
get that.
hear service, I think more of, retail is in a store or in like a retail store
I'm
or
looking at
food
I'm
services. Yeah.
looking at classification as like a
Okay.
labor and industry type.
Yeah. Okay.
Type of thing. In other words, services is when you're not manufacturing something.
I'm just thinking that we have a very broad audience and they may not come with some of,
Fine.
that's one of the challenges
I know.
I think we have is we assume people understand our language, just as others assume we understand theirs. And we're finding basic words sometimes really need definitions around that.
Okay, so I take it that nobody's tuning into that, where I'm going. Okay,
Could you put the 6, is it 6.0? Yeah, the 6.0 modified version back up there again that Will did. Because I think it's probably down between 4 or 4.0 as is, and then Will's 6.0 or 6.0 modified.
Okay, there's Will's.
Yeah. Would be the one. I'm gonna make a motion that we approve 6.0 as modified by Will Harris.
We have to do public comment.
Okay, do that, I'll let you do that.
Yes, you get to do that.
Well, have all the commissioners had their say?
Register questions answered, yes.
Mhm.
This one has.
This one has.
How about you, Brad?
Well, the original 4.0 that you're talking about, that is the Word document that was attachment A. Is that what you're saying?
No.
The current suggestion is what you're seeing in front of you. And
Right. Yeah, that's what yours, AI 6.0.
As modified, yeah, and that is what's been discussed by
Yeah.
the PAC members here.
Well, let's see. I'm looking at the 1, 2, 3, and 4.0. Which I actually don't see. I'm thinking the original attachment, which was the Word document, I guess, that had the four paragraphs, was fine as is. But I guess
that one's being replaced.
Or at least debated.
Well, debated to be possibly replaced.
So you're recommending attachment A that I just sent you, attachment A, vision statement, which is what as is, you're recommending we leave that unchanged. Are we understanding that?
there was another document in the November 6th meeting that had 2 paragraphs added, climate justice, and
The proposal,
Yeah, he's got the floor.
So that wasn't, let's see, I could perhaps share my screen, but I did send 2 files to you all, to the PAC at about, let me see the time that I sent it that had that in it. I was asking the question, I sent it about 5 o'clock, asking if that was the most recent, but that had the about a 6 paragraph. So I guess that's, since I did not, I don't know. It really doesn't matter. I guess concise is better. So AI 6.0 could be fine. Better to have 1 paragraph, 4 sentences than 4 or 5 or 6 paragraphs. So that's what I'll say. I'll say AI 6.0 that's on the shared screen right now is fine.
Question. So this modified 6.01, that's really replacing this first paragraph.
All of it.
All of it?
Everything.
Everything. You're completely new.
Oh, okay. I like that.
So I'm going to assume the commissioners have had their questions asked and answered. And now we're ready for public comment.
oh, agreed.
Come up to the podium and say who you are, please.
My name is Peggy Morrell. I live in Union, Washington. So I know that crafting vision statements are hard. I think updating them are even harder. So Mike, thank you, and the rest of the PAC members for putting time into this. It's not easy to envision what this community will look like in 10 years, given how fast the world changes. Our planning policy, countywide planning policies, and our comp plan updates, that's our road to getting to the vision. But you have to have a vision at the end of that road. It's not a description. Descriptions are not vision statements. Descriptions are what a community could look like. A vision statement includes the benefits or the desired outcomes of the changes you're proposing and what those changes mean to the people who live here. There's only one source we have of what's meaningful to the people in Mason County. And I wrote my comments days ago before Marissa. I have read this over and over again. If it's 125, it's 125. Let's use what's in here. When asked, I'm struggling in the current version of any of those 4 options to see what's in here. So as Marissa reviewed with you, when asked what would make Mason County better, there were 3 things that came out of the survey. Increased affordable housing, not mentioned. Improvement of transportation infrastructure, both for cars and bikes, or transportation period, not found. Revitalization of downtown and businesses opportunities within the county. Alluded to, but missing the tie to the benefits to those of us who live here. My version that I sent, I'm not advocating for it, but I am advocating for the connection to what's important to the people in Mason County, according to this, and what we go and put in the vision statement. So here's a couple of examples of what that sounds like. This language was all informed by this. I didn't pull this out of whatever. Urban growth areas serve as dynamic hubs that support rural enterprise, resource-based industry, and long-term job opportunities. Here comes the benefit. Enabling residents to work close to home. This impacts transportation. This impacts cost of living. This impacts where we work, where we spend our money on our lunch breaks. Hopefully in Mason County. Here's another example. Vibrant downtowns, mixed-use developments, safe neighborhoods, and a wide variety of housing options. Here comes the benefit. Foster community connections and ensure everyone has a place to thrive. They have stable housing. They have access to food. Their work is in their community. They have money to spend in the community. They have the security and the safety, which we talk about. Last example, well-planned transportation infrastructure for bikes, cars, and transit connects these areas, these dynamic hubs, to surrounding communities, ensuring accessibility and mobility for all residents. That's older adults who may lose driving privileges. That's young adults who have yet, sorry, it's just AC, who yet to have access to cars. Vision statements should inspire action needed to achieve the vision. That's what happens when you connect a community priority to benefit. If no one was ever inspired by a subsection, and we don't have any of the subsections that we're commenting on where some may put this, it belongs in vision statement. Yet to be resolved, in my mind, since I serve on the climate policy advisory team, is how that vision statement will work with this vision statement, and why are we having two vision statements? And when I say it's not yet resolved, it's because I don't even have that information. I don't know how the two live together or work together, but I don't know how you can write one without the other. Thank you.
I support connecting the vision statement with the results from the community. Vision statements should be based on community input and not our guess of what that is, but what the data says. If you do go with 4.0, I want to point out that there's the phrase in there for historic tribal culture. Tribal culture is not just historic, it's present and future as well. And I think it's very important that we acknowledge it that way.
Seeing no more down here. Anybody online want to comment? Okay, seeing nobody online wanting to comment. Chair is looking forward to a motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we approve version 6.0 as modified by Will. I just want to make sure Julianne understands that. We're not talking about 4.0, we're talking about 6.0. Make sure she has that if she's read it, and you know, because you had mentioned 4.0, but that's not the one we're
Previous
looking
to
at.
the motion, there was, I heard
Yeah,
Bob
yeah, we
say, I
discussed
only
it.
want 4.0 or 6.0, so I'm to bring that up.
Yeah,
I'm uncomfortable with the word overseeing. Just saying.
right, so
And I think
6.0.
there are many of us who do have deep connection to the.
Okay, so do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. And the motion is to approve Will's whatever it was AI 6.0 as modified.
Just say the amended version of.
The amended vote, amended
That's
vote,
not
yes.
Will's, it's ours.
Well, now it's ours. Okay.
What was the one who put the thought into?
All right, so it's been moved and seconded.
If we go down in smoke, we go down in smoke.
All right, going to the vote. All those in favor, please say
Do we
aye.
get a discussion though?
You need discussion.
We already had a discussion.
No, but in making a motion and.
Yes, I understand,
Okay.
but we've had the discussion. And we have had input from the community. Unless you guys want to keep on talking, I mean, it's 8:23.
The input from the community has been taking a pause. And I like in particular, if I may continue, if I can't, shut me down. Okay. I like what Ms. Morel has said. I think Peggy has some good comments. I like the idea of, okay, then what? You know, the result, ensure everyone has a place to thrive is one example, enabling people to work close to home, if you will, sort of the action, the result, okay, she's nodding her head, so I'm at least catching a little bit of her intent. So good. So We need an answer tonight, correct?
I'm just gonna say, this is a very small part. Plan.
Mhm.
I.
So.
Will we have a chance to readdress this down the road?
Yeah.
Not really, is what I'm hearing. Okay.
She's reluctant to answer.
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
but the
no,
answer-
that's fine. That's
So
fine.
at one point, we will have a complete draft plan. And, you know, we'll take additional comments on the complete plan. So if there are comments on the vision statement at that point, and we think they are worth addressing, the PAC can decide if they want to address it.
So we can approve one tonight, but it's not necessarily cast in concrete.
It's cast in concrete, but we can break it
Yeah.
out.
If I can get about 3 minutes.
Ooh, 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, cut and paste is great.
Okay, Will's typing.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd like to see tribal heritage in there somewhere.
Let him think, or we'll never get.
What was displayed on the shared screen was merely 5 sentences. Was that the entirety of the vision statement?
Yes.
Yes,
Vision,
the vision.
not mission, vision.
But Will's typing.
Because that may be too concise. We go from 5 or 6 paragraphs to 5 or 6, basically that seems to be 20%. So it may be.
Not about the volume, it's about the quality of the content.
I've seen vision statements that were 1 sentence.
Usually they're very clear and concise, but sometimes not.
Mariah, I just sent it to you. So while Mariah is bringing it up, what I've done is a consideration to toss out there throughout a couple of things. So I grew the second sentence that talks about population centers foster safety, community cohesiveness, and an opportunity to allow residents, I specifically chose the word residents over citizens, to succeed economically. Creates an ideal opportunity for families, entrepreneurs, and businesses to flourish, and enabling, taking Peggy's words, to work closely from home. I literally cut and paste near the bottom the well-planned transportation statement. And I think that's the summary. And I deleted all the words that were struck out.
Okay, so since we're changing the text, and this is actually discussion, so you can do that. We have a motion on the floor. We'll give the commissioners time to review and think about it.
Like it.
I can live with it. I can live with it.
Randy?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay, Brad?
Let me ask a question of that. Will well, actually, let me ask of the gentle lady that last spoke. She held up the blue, basically blue color um,
That-
document. That was different from the public survey, correct?
That was the public survey.
Okay, okay. Okay, so there was another, well, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay,
So I mean,
okay, well, we have a motion on the floor. It's been moved and seconded to approve this text for the comp plan vision statement. Yeah,
call for the question.
all right, it's been called. All those in favor?
Of the what's in front of us.
Correct.
All right.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Unanimously.
All right, land use element, staff.
We already reviewed roughly land use, open policy review last meeting. We had comments from the countywide planning, policy that were held over that, were more appropriate for looking at when we looked at our elements. So the consultants, there's a couple of those comments that are held over. And I provided those to the PAC along with comments on the side with an indication whether they were appropriate for the land use element or just making a distinction between the land use element and the rural element. Because there's some similar information in both of those chapters. The only, this is, you've got the draft in your hand and there's draft of the screen, the only changes that I made to this draft were in response to our last meeting. The PAC desired the word power in 1.3. These changes were already in the last draft of the last meeting. And the other change was under the land use element objectives and procedures, number 2. It was mentioned that the wording of number 2 was a little confusing and that the PAC can possibly be wording. The draft that you have has possible rewording. We can discuss that. I don't believe there were any other changes from the last draft that we had that staff made. So the other thing is, so this is the table of the comments of the and you have notice to the very right side, I commented whether it would be more appropriate on it or the real element. You have a couple extra thoughts that this one, from taking wildlife and it's about including language about updating the coastal areas ordinance with accessible land. The RCW, it requires us to consider and update what's best available science in mind. Whether you put any language into the on that, free to do that. We also had a comment second comment there, would be appropriate and land use elements encourage development in urban areas where adequate public facilities and services exist or can be provided in an efficient manner. And then, MCCJ suggested taking into account the current and future impacts of a changing climate and environmental justice. And then, obviously, there's some that work for the housing chapter. Swaxon Island Tribe made comments, not really revisions on language, but comments, just general comments, and some of those we're addressing in the land use element as well. We're including information on virus and water availability. It's in response to comments this Swaxon has made. So we have the two on the first page that would relate to land use elements. And then a lot of them relate to other chapters, a lot to the housing chapter, several of them. Economic development, the rural elements. There's any other ones for there's one on page 5. Halfway down the page, so it has to do with historic preservation. This suggested language would be appropriate in the land use element. And then the last comment was from the Swaxon Island Tribe that mentioned, which is already, draft is already included language in the draft element, and which you guys will be reviewing later on. So I'm gonna leave it up to the PAC to discuss those comments or take more public comment.
All right, so are there any questions for the staff?
So there were four comments dealing with land use that I saw. It's very difficult to understand. Hopefully I'm coming across audibly, but I saw in LU attachment B, there were four comments: protect drinking water, environments, urban growth, and historical preservation. Was that correct? Was that what you just went over? 4?
That's correct.
Excuse me?
That's correct.
She said yes.
Okay. And though I didn't see them in the Word document, gosh, doggone it. Forgot the. I didn't. Are they those 4 things entered in items 1 through for 111?
They're not included in the Word document because I want you to make a decision about them. I don't want to, you may change the wording of them.
Okay. I mean, I would say yes. I guess I agree with your comments in LU attachment A, or no, in those 4 comments. So I would say put them in. Do the other PAC members say put the 4 comments in?
Remember, those are not, LU attachment B are not my comments, there's public comments. And I'm just saying that they'd be appropriate in the land use element for review. not like in the rural elements or the housing elements.
Okay. So the PAC can approve the incorporation of those particular items as specified by Brad in the land use text. Do you agree? That's what you want us to do? Or are suggesting?
I'm not sure what Brad is.
Well, there's 4 comments, as he's noted, on the spreadsheet that he reviewed,
On the spreadsheet. These are public comments.
right?
They're the wording from the public. You have to look at the comment, look at the wording. I'm saying on the side where it has my comments, says comment MW1, consider in land use element. So you need to consider their comment, whether you want that language in the land use element or not. I'm not saying they exist.
That's what we're clarifying. Brad has said he likes what he's seen and thinks that should be incorporated.
I know,
And-
but he was alluding to that being my language. That's not my.
No, it's the language of the input from the public. Okay. All right. Will, you want next?
I have a motion if that is acceptable at this time. So what I motion,
You move.
I move that we accept the changes as dispositioned by staff. So where it says move it to section A from where it is today, then I recommend moving it to section A where it says leave it as is, leave it as is. Where it says include, like the first one, best available science, add that text. Recommend we agree with the staff recommendation. And I recommend that on all of attachment A and attachment B.
Is there a second?
So I should take public comment.
Prior vote.
Yeah, right.
All right.
I'll
Public
second.
comment.
I'll second.
No, we have to have public comment.
Well,
So do we
So
hear?
we have moved, we have a second.
No, staff is correct. We need to have public comment.
Prior second.
but that doesn't mean you can't second it ahead of public comment. Whatever.
Whatever.
It gives a predisposition that you've already made up your mind. Instead of hearing comments.
It's late in the day and I got up earlier today. Let's hear from the comment, public.
From the comment there.
Your comments from the public. Anybody online? Okay, we've given public sufficient time to comment on the discussion.
You got one behind you, sorry.
There's,
Yeah,
I can't I don't have eyes on my back.
no, that's why I'm here though. Just raise your hand.
I just ask that you take very seriously the consideration of when we're talking about land use, that our comp plan incorporates the impacts of climate change and environmental justice to support the RCW's requirement that all elements of the comp plan be consistent, and also just to be responsible. We've already seen how land is changing. We've already seen flooding in areas we haven't had flooding before. We're already seeing saltwater intrusion in places we haven't before. And so I think it would be irresponsible not to include climate change in what we're doing. And then as an environmental justice organization, keeping with the, when we say environmental justice considerations, that can be things like making sure that all communities' voices are heard in public participation. It can mean making sure that those most impacted by climate change have an opportunity to speak. I don't think we need to define all of that here, but if you put it in the policy that will be a consideration, that makes space for codes and planning and land use to consider those things in the future. And I think it's consistent with RCW, with the new additions around the climate resilience plan to the comp plan,
And I think it also really respects the survey takers. 88% of people said they were somewhat or very concerned about climate change. And so I think that's a way of listening to public input and making sure that it's part of the comp plan. Thank you.
Behind it.
Once again, anyone have any comment? Down here online? Okay, hearing none. We can go to the vote. Do we need to reread the
Make
motion?
sure I have it right. So your motion is to accept the staff's recommendation from the column.
Correct.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. We've had discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Unanimously.
What else do we need to do?
Motion to adjourn.
Next meeting time before we adjourn. Is that the 27th?
It's actually on the agenda. It's the 27th, same time.
2 weeks from tonight, 6 p.m.
I have a outpatient surgical procedure in Olympia, and I will be recovering from it, so I don't think I can sit. I don't think I can attend that.
Well, you got an excused absence, Brad.
I've got a note
Brad,
from the doctor. Okay.
If you make it, you do. If you don't, hey, next time.
More importantly, we wish you the very best for an easy surgery and a speedy recovery.
So it's been moved, and I heard a second from Jeff. So all those in favor of adjourning, those please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned.